surgery was he only had part of a tibia and more of a fibula, so they cut the bottom of this and brought it over to recreate a weight-bearing axis, so he had one bone that would transfer the force from his femur down to his foot. And so that was an external fixer with pins going through, and then the basically bone cement that's on the outside. Then the day that we were going to send him home, on the other side, it was abnormally moving, and what we could see is that he broke one of the pins here on that leg. And the other pin had backed out, and so we knew that it wasn't, and when we pull up the same x-ray from the different version, that the bones were not in the right place anymore. So then we went back to surgery, and we put in, instead of the pins, we put in a plate with a pin. So this kind of funny looking device here is called string of pearls, because it looks like a pearl necklace. That's the type of plate it is. And let me pull it up over here. So now this is under the skin. There's nothing like sticking out, no external fixator. So he's got a really strong plate, and then you can see on, let me pull it up over here, is gonna be better. There's also a little pin through the middle of the bone to help with bending forces. And in addition to that, the other thing that we found was that his ankle had kind of broken down, because it was never a normal ankle to begin with. And initially when he first had surgery, the ankle was really firm, but as he was walking with his external fixer for the first time in his life, like actually bearing weight on that foot, the ankle collapsed. So then we had to go through, and you see this, like there's a really tiny little screw going through this way, and a little pin kind of coming through this way. So that's his ankle joint from here to here, basically. The bones are totally abnormal because of his, congenital deformity, but his ankle is a lot more stable here too. There's you can see the little baby screw coming this way and the pin coming this way. So our goal is for this bone to heal, which you can see it's like really, well aligned right here where we fuse them together, and then have the ankle be strong too. The only problem is that we are worried about, let me show you kind of more of these post-operative x-rays. One second. It's kind of going way back in time here. So initially, it's a little hard to see, but his little kneecap is a circle right here. And part of what we did was try to put his kneecap back in line because it wasn't in line. You can see it better here. There's a little kneecap on the side. And basically in the knee, there's a divot, which let me see if I can find one. So in the knee joint itself, there's usually a little divot, like boop, and then the kneecap sits right in there. And when it's out of line, the whole knee is not in proper alignment. And so his kneecap before surgery was like way out here. So we went in and made a better groove and put it to sit in there. And after surgery, we were like, perfect. This is like after the first surgery. Then when we went back in to do the second surgery, the kneecap was out. We put it back in, and then when we finished surgery, it was back out again. So this is what Dr. Warnock and Dr. Biskup are like, we have to get this to go back in line for his knee to go back to normal. So this is a surgery that they're looking at doing in a couple of weeks after we give him some more time to heal. So this will go back in here. This morning, I felt like when we did his bandage change, the ankle had a little bit more movement than I'd like to see. So we'll see on his next bandage change. We'll just, when we take it off, feel it and just see how it feels. But, I think this is super strong on his like new tibia fibula that we created. I think this is going to go really well. Now we're focusing on this part and this part, right? And then in terms of his other leg, the left leg, let me find his x-rays there. So he has an external fixer that goes on both sides in part of it, and I'll get it better, I think. I'm trying to make sure his x-rays. Here we go. This is all the left side. So then, the left leg. Same deal. We took like the other bone, moved it over to make a full weight-bearing access again. And we have the pins that are going through with a big rod. And then in the ankle, that one we actually were able to arthrodesis or fuse into, because it was also like all over the place, not a real joint. Couldn't, like if he bore weight on it, it would just like collapse down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, hey Meredith. And so we were able to put the pins going across all the way, which is really, really strong, and then into the foot here. So he will walk on this, and his knee joint is up here. So he'll bend the knee, and his ankle is like fixed as if he like has no joint there at all, which is better than collapsing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like essentially a peg leg from here down, like there's no motion, but that's okay. You know, he won't be like a super great jumper, but he can at least walk around. And then this little plate up here is because we literally had to take about 1 centimeter out of his femur because it was so contracted, right? To like shorten it and be able to bend his knee. The other thing we had to do in this surgery, which was kind of crazy, is where the Achilles tendon comes right off of here in this little area.